In a rather interesting move, Helluva has decided to remake its pilot, which may seem a bit random, but it makes sense when you think about it. While I do love the original pilot, it's technically outdated. Some plot points don't quite line up with the rest of the series, Stolitz' characterization is very different, and of course, just generally, it's not the best taster of what the show ended up being. Vivzy has affirmed multiple times that the pilot is not canon, and when you have most people starting with the pilot, that's gonna cause some confusion. So remaking the pilot as an episode 0 is a great opportunity to reintroduce the show to new viewers, and for older viewers to see just how far we've come. What did kind of take me by surprise is the fact that it's not a one-to-one remake, which is to say, while we do get that boardroom meeting setup, they're talking about how they should undergo a hit, rather than how they can better promote their business. The hit of the episode is also different. Rather than some snot-nosed kid, it's just a gang of stereotypical thugs, and each imp member gives their take on how they should handle it. Really though, just like the original, it's all an excuse to just show off the characters' personalities and the dynamics between them. At this point in time at least, because obviously back then, Blitz and Moxie didn't get on nearly as well, and the situation with Stolitz has changed dramatically. Despite the differences, it's not completely unrecognizable. Moxie and Blitz share similar banter, and it's entertaining enough that I'd want to see more of them in the show. Millie, I think, gets a bit of an upgrade. More of her personality traits are on display, and her sharing a brain cell with Blitz is both funny and cute. Luna, I feel, was kind of shafted a little, but I think that's by virtue of the original pilot having these Family Guy style cutaway scenes, where we get glimpses of the characters out of office hours. Honestly, I kind of wish they kept them because they were effective communicators. But I digress. It should go without saying that M&M are absolutely adorable here. Like, besides the very overt makeout scene, they have these lovely subtle little interactions together. The animators couldn't have made them any sweeter. They're cute in the original too, but here they really do drive home just how much they're in love. Stolitz, as previously mentioned, is very different to his pilot counterpart, so his introduction was also going to be very different. But I still had fun. I was definitely most curious about how they'd handle him. Perhaps predictably, they did attempt to make the circumstances of their arrangement a bit more palatable. Well, in ways. So like, instead of being a more formal deal where Blitz has to fuck Stolitz for the book, it's meant to be more of a cheeky, oh, well, if you want this book, I guess you'll be seeing more of me. Which sounds better in theory, but for some reason they didn't make it obvious that Blitz is into it. And if I were a new watcher, I'd be like, oh, so this relationship is purely transactional? Here's the deal. So obviously this is a response to criticism of the relationship. Because Blitz needs the book to do his job, and Stolitz is using it as leverage for sex, it's widely regarded as coercive control, which wouldn't be all that bad if it were with Pilot Stolitz, who's meant to be evil, but we're meant to sympathise for Stolitz in the show. I've always seen this as an unfortunate accident, where they didn't think the logistics of the situation through to their conclusion. However, these subsequent attempts to course correct this have been inadvertently making it worse. They tried to make it so that they had feelings for each other before the deal, but tragically overlooked the implications of their meeting being thanks to child trafficking. They tried to make Stolitz feel bad for the transaction, which just served to make it look like he was fully cognizant of what he was doing. It's an awkward situation for the writers that I sympathise with, so I've been actively not thinking about it altogether. Now, at this point in their relationship, Blitz was apprehensive about Stolitz, but throughout the show, we've learnt that he does have real feelings for him, and that his apprehension was mostly from Stolitz's royal status. So while it makes sense to have him be scared of Stolitz's advances here, it kind of plays into that inadvertent narrative that Blitz wasn't consenting, which makes the grounds of their deal being retconned a bit redundant. Granted, Blitz does choose to have passionate fornication with him, with a big smile on his face. I'd have personally made it more obvious Blitz was doing this on his terms, had him looking more turned on than scared. It feels a bit nitpicky of me to say so, but it's going to end up looking really bad for anyone who doesn't read between the lines. Personally, I never want to hear about the agreement again, but being episode 0, I understand why they felt it had to be addressed. I'd say the retcon of the arrangement being less formal ultimately sets a better precedent for what happens later on. Other than all of that, the sexy scenes were perfectly fine, and I'm sure these drawings will make it to many a fan's folders. Anybody else really like Blitz's back? Moving on. Being much about nothing, I do think the episode could have been more exciting. A large portion of the episode is devoted to just watching Imp kill these guys. And I mean, it's gory, the animation's cool, but I don't really care about it. Watching the original back, it was very easy to remember the sequence of events. Having the gang accidentally kill a kid is memorable. The kid himself is memorable, and I was excited to see his cameo in this episode. Am I going to remember these generic characters of the week, who don't really do anything? Well, I probably will because I'm making a review on this thing, but otherwise I can't say I would. I don't really care whether or not these guys get killed or not, and certainly not how, as opposed to the catharsis of Imp getting to kill this kid for real in the end. And it's totally fine that the episode is just a way to introduce the characters, but when it's devoting so many precious seconds to the plot, I would like those seconds to hold my interest. If the scenes were particularly comedic, I probably wouldn't be saying that, but the only real laugh I got from these scenes was from Blitz berating how much he hated Moxie's idea. The episode is humorous in tone. The characters say and do things that are amusing, but as for jokes with a setup and punchline, I can count them on my hand. But on the other hand, the original was firing 500 jokes per hour, and a big part of what makes the kid so memorable is the fantastic sequence of layered jokes he's a part of. Firstly, you have the humour from the irony of Moxie missing his shot, while the jingle tells you how good they are at their jobs. And there's of course the added shock value of a kid being murdered and their subsequent hilarious expressions. It piles onto this by having the funny doctors try to revive him with slapstick, which just kills him more. And when it does actually work, they're surprised. And then it crescendos in this.
Now, what insurance provider do you freaks have? The fuck is insurance?
Kids die for free!
This is the kind of shit classic Simpsons is praised for, and that's not even his only memorable moment. In the end, it turns out that the entire time he was with them, he was only pretending to be dead so they wouldn't kill him again, and he only gives up the jig to insult them. It's just all so clever and thoughtful. Not a single scene this kid's in is wasted. By design, the thugs were an afterthought, and that's not to say Mission Zero doesn't have jokes, or even to say it doesn't have good jokes. I already mentioned one of the ones I really liked. It's just so quiet and subdued in comparison. In the original, it felt like we caught these characters during a really interesting moment, and here it feels like we've caught them during a random mundane moment. However, perhaps it was worth it for all the hype moments and aura at the end. Honestly, I have no complaints. These scenes look so fucking tasty. Like, would you just take a look at these wonderfully dynamic layouts, these diverse and experimental palettes, this wonderful illustration teasing the drama of the series? I know some of you are gonna ask who I think it is. I have no clue, but it looks great. And of course, it contains the most out-of-pocket joke of both versions of the pilot. The timing of this joke is impeccable, and almost redeems it for not being as funny throughout the rest of it. We thank you for your sacrifice, Viv. But yeah, overall I liked it. It wasn't the best it could have been, but it was a serviceable introduction. So I have literally no clue what the consensus is for this episode yet. Maybe because it's on Amazon and not YouTube. I haven't seen much of a response, so I'd be interested in hearing whether or not you guys liked it and why or why not, and whether or not you prefer this or the pilot. I suspect that a lot of you will opt for the one with the Stolitz sex scene, but feel free to surprise me. See you guys when season 3 drops.